the Indianapolis Colts, the 6th seed Indianapolis Colts, take on the #1 big-time showcase Kansas City Chiefs, the #1 passing touchdown leader, 50 touchdowns Patrick Mahomes, versus #2 Andrew Luck, 39 touchdown passes. Of course, we have Reich versus Reed, a disciple of Andy Reid, so that's going to be interesting. And, of course, AC knows about both these coaches, and we'll get into that. A couple of things about this game. Sammy Watkins, he should be back and mostly healthy. Don't exactly know to what degree, what percentage, but he should be back. Eric Reed was out of practice, but he should play, so monitor that throughout the week. The Kansas City Chiefs have lost 6 straight at home in the playoffs, and that's dating all the way back. The last time they won was 1994 with Joe Montana, and 4 times in the playoffs, the Colts have beat the Chiefs 4 in a row. They're 4-0 against the Chiefs. It's totally different teams, but it is something to look at. The Chiefs are 3-3 in their last 6, and the Colts are 5-1. Andy Reid, coming off a playoff bye, is 3-1, so that's something. The only time they lost, I believe, was with the Chiefs when they lost against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was the only time he lost after a bye. And the Kansas City weather, the high is going to be 38 degrees Fahrenheit, 3 degrees Celsius, so it's going to be cold. All right, guys, let's take it from there. Let's start off with Dilly Vanilli. Who do you have here? The Colts, the underdog, or the #1 seed Kansas City Chiefs?
I'm interested in both teams' games this week. What the Colts were able to do last week, they were able to shut down Deshaun Watson. They were able to see the patterns that the Texans were giving them and overall come up with a very good victory. They didn't really score in the second half, but they didn't really need to. Their defense was solid enough. They got the job done. And the Kansas City Chiefs, you know what they brought to the table this year. Mahomes, his greatness, and the like. The concern for me and the Chiefs is their secondary. They're awful. They are one of the worst secondaries I've ever seen in my life. And with Andrew Luck, who's going to be slinging the rock, if you don't get pressure on him, I think he's going to have enough time to go to a guy like Hilton or Inman or Ebron in the red zone. There's going to be a lot of threats in that territory to where they might get the secondary of the Chiefs off their game. And could be a big reason why the Colts have a good chance to win. But I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I know it's not a very hard thing to say. You know, people are like, oh, the Chiefs are one and done. I can't trust what the Chiefs do. They don't have that playoff success. I feel like this time around it's going to be a little bit different. This is Mahomes' era. I think they're buying in. They're obviously buying in to the word of Mahomes. I think he's going to change the guard, and he's going to get it done. I think this has the opportunity to be a shootout given what the secondary of the Chiefs is and what the Chiefs' offense brings. And I know that Colts defense is very solid, but I think Mahomes is going to lead the charge there and get the victory. I'm going to go with a 31-28 victory for the Chiefs.
All right. Kevol, go ahead. I think Kevol's going with the underdog. You know Kevol's one to go with the underdog. So we'll see if he goes against Dilly Vanilli here.
Well, I have to apologize for Colts fans for not picking them against the Texans last week.
Yeah, who are you, Kev?
Yeah, what the hell was that? Boom. I don't know. There's Cowboys fans demanding apologies. I'll talk.
Not me. Not before anybody says that. Not me.
All right. Anyway, but when you look at this, the Indianapolis Colts, at least you could argue, is if not the best, they've been the second best team in the NFL since 1-5. They turned this around. They got Andrew Luck going. They got their receiving core going. They got Marlon Mack and a really good running game going. They've found a way to get Eric Ebron to be a receiver in this league after Detroit could not figure it out. And their defense has been lights out. The Kansas City Chiefs have played some of the funnest games this year. We know the Rams game. We know the Patriots game, even the Seahawks game, the Chargers game. But what do they all have in common? They lost. They lost 4 pretty big games. And yes, they ended up getting the bye, and that was all okay. But whenever they needed that defensive stop, you look back against the game against the Seahawks, Kansas City comes back. Seattle went from the Space Needle to Pike Place to Pioneer Square to Safeco, now in the new field, to CenturyLink Field, and off to Tacoma without being touched by a Kansas City defender, even though they knew pretty clear what was going on. And we're able to do it. 2-point conversion for the LA Chargers. They came back. The guy it wasn't like just a great play. He was wide open. I think this is going to be a shootout. I think if Kansas City is going to win, what I'm going to be interested in is at least the first 2 or 3 series, because I think they lead at least 2 3-and-outs in the first 3 series. Because if their defense is not showing up and this is a shootout, I think the Colts, Matt Lieberfuse has found a way to stop Derrick Henry. He found a way to stop DeAndre Hopkins. Yes, DeAndre Hopkins was hurt, but this defense has been lights out with a really unknown secondary. Darius Leonard has been a beast at linebacker. They're able to get pressure on the quarterback. You're right. I am picking the Indianapolis Colts. I was actually seriously thinking about them in the preview to actually go to the AFC Championship, and I'm doing it. I think actually when you look, I'm really interested in your who's better. I don't know who's doing that, but I think the Colts right now are a better team than the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, Patrick Mahomes is amazing. Yes, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are amazing, but the loss of Kareem Hunt, I think, is huge to what they do offensively, and I don't think the Colts are worried about getting into a shootout. They've got the weapons. I think the Colts at the end can make the stop. I can't trust Kansas City to do it. Yes, I'm doing it. I am picking the Indianapolis Colts. You can laugh at me now if you want.
Good work, Kev. Actually, you know what's funny is I'm kind of in the same boat as you. We'll see who I pick. But in that video before the NFL playoffs even started, I said that the Chiefs would beat the Colts and the Colts would advance and play the Chiefs, and it would be really close. But now I don't know. We'll see. AC, who are you taking?
One other quick funny thing, it was only Chris Berman that could point this out. Andrew Luck came back from a 28-point playoff victory, and his head coach, Frank Reich, came back from a 28-point victory. Isn't that fascinating?
Interesting.
Very
All
cool.
right. AC.
Well, I guess both very good takes. I'm going to take more the angle of I know the Chiefs' defense isn't great. And I know Mahomes is good. It's going to come down to this Colts defense, who, like you guys said, are really good. I do think they struggle to get pressure with just 4. So they have to bring the blitz. I think that's big, that if Mahomes and the running backs and the offensive line can get it together for those blitz pickups, I think it could be dangerous because this secondary has been helped out because of that linebacking core. You look at what's Quincy Wilson's one of them, that Desert guy, like I think, he's not great. Malik Hooker, unbelievable. I think that's going to be a big issue that the Chiefs are going to be able to exploit. I think it's going to be a shootout, but at the end of the day too, what we're not talking about is an indoor team going out and playing somewhere where it's going to be very cold. I know it's football, but that's always something we have to say. And I always like to pick on what people are doing. And I feel like the hot pick is actually to pick the Colts. If you've been watching the news or this on ESPN, everyone's kind of picking the Colts, being like, this is the same old Chiefs. And I think Mahomes might have a problem with that. And we're going to see what he's made of. Because if Mahomes plays like he did this season, I don't care about his defense. He's going to find a way to win this game. So I'm going to take the Chiefs 38-31.
High scoring game. What was your guys' score? Dylan, you had
31-28.
31-28.
I'm in the 38-35 range.
Damn. All right. Okay, guys. So you guys got to understand, I have like notes upon notes upon notes on like every game. So if I take a really long time going over my preview, it's because I put a lot of time into the preview. So let's just go with, basically how I'm going to split it up is it's going to be offense versus defense, and then offense versus defense, and then prediction. So let's go Chiefs offense versus Colts defense. First off, the Chiefs have not scored less than 26 points in any game this year. So you guys are right. This game is going to have to be a shootout. Like, the Colts are going to have to score points to win the game. The Colts, I think, have one of the fastest defenses in the league, and the Kansas City Chiefs have one of the fastest offenses. So it's kind of a fascinating matchup. The Colts do run the most zone coverage out of any team in the NFL. Mahomes versus zone coverage has played 5 teams who have been in the top 8 in frequency in zone coverage. This is by Evan Silva. 64% completion percentage, 7.9 yards per attempt, and 14 touchdowns, no interceptions. So Patrick Mahomes has been the best against zone coverage this season. So that's interesting, looking at the cover 2 scheme primarily of what the Colts play. What the Colts do very well on defense, though, is take away the number 1 wide receiver. They've done a really good job of doing that. And Tyreek Hill, I don't think will have his best game. I think they'll do a really good job of not giving up the big play and focusing on the Chiefs to go down the field in long drives. And I think this is going to be a game where the game won't be in the 30s, because I feel like both offenses will have the ball for a long time, and it will be one of those games where it's not necessarily the defense, but it's more just the offense containing the ball and going down the length of the field, because that's the style of defense that the defenses play. So in that regard, I think that's going to be good for the Colts defense, that they don't give up big plays, but also Mahomes, if he's patient, he won't make mistakes. So the Chiefs have to make the quick passes. The keys to offense for me for the Chiefs are Travis Kelce and Damian Williams. The Colts have allowed the most catches and yards to tight ends this season. Fantasy fact, that is a factual thing, and that's a big deal for Travis Kelce and the Chiefs, because obviously Kelce is the number 1. In my opinion, Hill is one of the best receivers in the game, and I'll tell you more than anyone that Tyreek Hill is amazing. But Travis Kelce, to me, is the core of this offense, and if he gets going, it really opens up the rest of the offense. So I think that's a big deal. The Colts also gave up the 2nd most receptions to running backs. That's 110 this season. So Damian Williams should have a big role in the passing game. So while Tyreek Hill and maybe Sammy Watkins won't have big games, I think Kelce and Williams will. The Colts defense have given up the 2nd least amount of yards per completion on the road. So they've been really good, again, giving up that big play. It doesn't really happen. They're 8th in rushing yards against on the road, and they are number 9 on defense on 3rd down on the road. They're also really good in the red zone, 7th best in the red zone. So to me, it comes down to the Chiefs. They're going to drive the length of the field, but will they get a couple of plays where the Colts stop them on 3rd down, stop them in the red zone? That could be the difference in the game. Looking at the other side, the Chiefs defense versus the Colts offense, since week 10, the Chiefs rank 32nd in 3rd down defense versus the pass, and they're 30th on 3rd and 5+. So whenever the Colts are in 3rd and 6th, 7, 8, 9, 10, they're 30th in that situation. And the Chiefs are also 32nd in rushing DVOA, which is like average, per rush, whatever. They're also 32nd on 3rd down against the run. So they're 32nd against the pass on 3rd down. They're 32nd against the run on 3rd down. They're an awful defense, and Dylan brought that up. So Marlon Mack, to me, is kind of the difference maker in this game. If Marlon Mack can control the clock and run the ball, and they can run the ball with that big offensive line, they have a good chance of doing and winning this game. But when you look at the points allowed, it's kind of interesting, because as bad as the Chiefs have been as a defense, they only give up 18 points per game at home. The Colts do average 28 points per game since week 7, so they've been a really effective offense, and like we said, they're going to need to score over 26 at least to win. So they average 28, but the Chiefs only allow 18. So will the Chiefs defense come to play? I think it comes down to if they can get pressure on Andrew Luck. Ford, Houston, those guys are really good pass rushers, but the Colts have the 2nd best pass blocking line in the game, and we've talked about how they're probably the best in the NFL. I think that the Colts will have time to throw. I think Andrew Luck will have time to throw, but I think the Chiefs will score also. It's going to be a very good game. I think one thing that was very interesting was Andrew Luck outdoors, because AC did bring this up. In his career, he's 18-16. He's 3-4 in 2018, and he has an 86 passer rating. So he's not as good outdoors. Nonetheless, I am going to take the Indianapolis Colts to get the upset, 30-27, because I do believe that on offense, they'll do enough to move the ball down the field. They'll control the clock. They'll run the ball. And then on defense, their defense is just strictly better than the Chiefs, and they'll get red zone stops and 3rd down stops. And I think their defense is smart enough. They have good enough coaching to win this game. But it was really hard to pick, like all these games. So I'm going with the Colts.